What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of The Block is Hot. Today we are going over a CNFT project that has been absolutely exploding recently, and that is RatsDAO. In this video, I'm going to be going over what exactly a DAO is, how RatsDAO specifically works, and just my overall opinions on DAOs and on this project in particular. But without further ado though guys, let's get into it. First things first guys, what exactly is a DAO? Well, a DAO in technical terms is a decentralized autonomous organization. Essentially what that means is, hey, instead of one person making all of the decisions, like let's just say a CEO of the company, what if we had an organization that every single person in the organization had a voice in a decision? So for example, in this circumstance with RatsDAO, which is the largest DAO on Cardano, you can own one of their NFTs. And when you own one of these NFTs, you are now able to be a member of their DAO. And what happens is this DAO will have a pool of money from selling these NFTs and royalties and just other transactions. And with that money, they say, hey, how should we invest this? And they ask the members of the DAO, which are the members that are holding these tokens. So essentially what happens here is you have an NFT project like RatsDAO. They sell their NFTs, they make 1 million ADA, and then they say, hey, 25% of ADA is going to the team, so now we have 750 million ADA to work with. And basically, if you own one of our rats, if you own one of our NFTs, you are going to be a member, and we're going to ask you guys how we should invest that 750 million ADA. So for example, they will do different votes. Hey, do you think Claymates is a good buy? Do you think Dead Pixels is a good buy? Yumi Universe. These are just a couple of the projects that they invested in. And basically every single member will vote yes or no in the Discord, whether or not they think that's a good investment. And then they'll also figure out which specific ones they should buy and how much money they should spend. So for example, guys, let's say I own RatsDAO 02457. I am now part of the decision making. Well, let's say we wanted to buy Claymates. So I'm just going to look up Claymates here. We think Claymates is going to be good. We think that this is a blue chip that's going to go up a lot over time, that the community's strong, whatever. So let's say the RatsDAO voted on it and they're like, okay, we're going to buy this guy for 1,600. Now all of a sudden a year goes by and this is now worth 10,000 ADA. Well, now that DAO can make another decision. Should we sell this Clay Nation and take those profits? And if they do say they want to sell that Clay Nation, now all of a sudden, what do we do with those profits, right? And that's going to be another vote. So over time, there's going to be different circumstances where this DAO is taking profits off their CNFTs, and then they can choose to distribute those rewards to everyone holding their CNFT or everyone that is part of that DAO. Now, the really cool part of this is that you are making a decision with a lot of other people. So for example, if I go and look for a project, most of the time I'm using my information and my knowledge to decide whether or not I should invest in that project. But the really cool thing is if you are a part of a DAO, now all of a sudden you might have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 members all talking about these different projects, all doing research, all having eyes on things, all seeing upcoming projects. So now all of a sudden when the DAO actually makes a decision to invest in something, they have a lot more reasoning and a lot more education, a lot more information than if you were just trying to do this thing by yourself. The other thing I want to bring up here that's pretty cool about DAOs is that it enables people to get into blue chip NFTs that they couldn't afford by themselves. So for example, let's say you were interested in Clay Nation, you like Clay Nation, you think it's something that's going to go up a lot over time. But you might not have 1,600 ADA. You might not have 8,000 ADA for a space bud. So what's cool is with this DAO, you are able to get a part of these profits and take a part of the growth of these NFTs without needing the full amount of money, right? Because all the money is getting pulled together. Everyone's kind of working together on this and all voting how that money should be spent. So now all of a sudden you can be invested in these more expensive blue chip CNFTs without needing all of the money just by yourself. Now that you guys know how DAOs work, I want to showcase a little bit of what RatsDAO is doing, just go over this specific DAO, and then I'm going to give you guys my opinions on where I think this whole DAO thing is going to go. Their website is really bland, guys. I was kind of surprised because they literally have over 1 million ADA ADA worth of assets, and their website looks like it only took a couple minutes to make. I definitely think they could beef this up, because I think a website would just attract so many more people to this project. So it's kind of crazy that they just did a bunch of text like this, because most people like visual stuff and not just reading a bunch of text and paragraphs and bullet points. There have been 10,000 of these rats created, and they were released at different time frames. So for example, the first 1,000 rats were Genesis rats. These rats are way more expensive. They go for about 1,500 ADA floor rather than a 300 ADA floor, and they are going to have increased benefits over the other rats. A lot of the other rats actually dropped this month. I believe February 2nd, they had released 6,000 more of these rats for 150 ADA a pop. The big thing they're doing with these rats, like I said, was purchasing these blue chip CNFTs. They made a lot of money off selling all those rats because they were charging 150 ADA a pop, and now they're rolling most of that money after you pay the devs and all that stuff into these different blue chip CNFT projects for the DAO Treasury. The big thing that's going on in this project right now, and the main reason that these CNFTs have gone up so much recently, is that they are releasing their own token called the RAT token. These RAT tokens are actually going to be airdropped to people holding their current CNFTs. So for example, Genesis holders, anyone that owns a top 1,000 serial RAT is going to get 5% of the airdrop, which is about 5,000 RAT tokens. The same goes to member holders, which is the 1,000 to 10,000, but they're actually getting 500 tokens instead, or about 555 tokens, my bad, instead of the 5,000 tokens that the Genesis holders are getting. There's also going to be an airdrop to the dev team. 20% is going to go to their overall treasury, and the majority of it is going to be rewarded through staking your NFTs. So for example, if you own Genesis rats, or if you own regular member rats, you're going to be able to stake these rats in the near future, and you're going to get these rat tokens as a reward, which is super cool. One of the big things that I saw in the interview with Diego, he's one of the co-founders, is that these rat tokens are going to be really important, and that the staking rewards is going to be the same for the Genesis and the member holders. Diego, the co-founder, was actually shocked just how much more money these Genesis rats were going for over the member rats, just because you're going to be getting the same amount of the staking rewards. Yes, you're getting about 10 times less from the airdrop, but those staking rewards are going to be exactly the same and might not be worth that 5 times difference in price, which is what Diego was saying. So how do I feel about this rat token? And I want to say, guys, I have been thinking about this rat token for a long time, and my opinion has changed through my thought process of breaking this down. But let me break this down. Right now, you have 10,000 rats, and each rat gives you 1 vote in this DAO for these decisions, right? So let's say we go to sell, as part of the DAO, we go to sell an NFT and we make 10,000 ADA. Well, that 10,000 ADA would now be split between those 10,000 rats. So in simple terms, if you wanted to have more voting power, or if you wanted to have a larger percent of the profit, you simply own more rats, right? It's very simple. And then when you're profit sharing, you know that at the maximum, you're going to have to send ADA, or that profit, to 10,000 wallets, which is still a lot, and there's going to be a lot of transaction fees, so I'm curious how they're going to do this without spending way too much on transaction fees, right? But now what they basically did is they're like, okay, we're going to have this rat token, and this rat token is actually going to represent your voting power and the amount of commission you get from profit. So basically, your CNFT, or your rat, is just an entry ticket or a proof of membership to the DAO where you can now make decisions. But you're not really making decisions, because the big deciding thing is how much rat tokens you have. So now all of a sudden, instead of your CNFT being the most valuable thing, it's actually your rat tokens, because your rat tokens are going to decide how much money and how much power and influence you actually have on this stuff. So at first I was like, dude, that's pretty money grabby. That's pretty crappy of them. All of a sudden they just devalued all their CNFTs. They didn't have to do this. And at first I was like, dude, this was just a way to build hype. Literally, RatsDAO has doubled within the past week because of this hype, because of the airdrop. This is just another way for them to get more tokens sent to their DAO, which is 20%, and another 5% to their team. And I was like, dude, it's kind of messed up, because all these people that were holding these rats, now all of a sudden their rats are devalued. Now, I started thinking about it more, though, And even though they didn't have to do this, I actually think this was a good idea for holders. And here's the reason. 45% of all of these tokens are going to be from staking your NFT, from staking one of those 10,000 NFTs. And 10% was airdrop, 5% to Genesis, 5% to the general rats, right? So you have 55% of overall supply actually going to holders of the CNFT. So what's interesting is you're able to stake this NFT, and over time, we don't know how many of these rat tokens are going to come out each month, from my knowledge, but over time, you're going to be able to get these tokens. Now, the reason I actually think this is a good thing is that it's going to reward people that have been holding the CNFT or the rat for a longer period of time than people that just got in. So for example, let's say they start to take profits. If you didn't have this coin, you know what I do? I buy a rat right before you guys take profits, and then I'm getting the same amount of money as someone that has been holding this and supporting this for an entire year. And then I was like, oh, well, why don't they just do like a snapshot before they tell people they're going to take profits? Well, two problems with that. One, someone that held it for 8 months could have just sold it and now they're shit out of luck. Two, you could have just had someone lucky that bought it before this. And three, how the heck are you going to do a snapshot without people anticipating that you're taking profits? Like you're a DAO. Everybody's going to know you sold your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's going to know because the wallet's public, so they're going to know you're selling stuff. The DAO would have had to vote on selling stuff. So people are going to anticipate that there is going to be a profit taking and buy the rat. So this is honestly, even though I think in the short term, it devalued the rats, I think that long term, this is actually going to be super beneficial to people holding because they're going to, through their staking rewards, have a much bigger share of profit, which they should, than people that just simply bought in a week before hoping to capitalize on the gains. Before I give you guys some price predictions of what I think is going to happen, I thought it would be cool to actually show their wallet, their vault of what they're holding. So for example, they own a Barry Cardinal, which like they paid 150 for, like not 150 ADA, 150,000 ADA, and now they're going for about 450,000 ADA floor. This was actually the first NFT project that was launched on Cardano, I believe. They also own 33 Space Buds, 52 Pixels, 4 of these guys, 81 Claymates. They just got into Yumi and they just got into Pavia and they just bought some of these Clay Nation Good Charlottes as well. Now, one of the big fears with a DAO, in my opinion, is security and trust. So like, for example, if these guys just own all this stuff and want to dip all of a sudden, yes, some of them are doxxed, but like, who's stopping them? They are the only ones in control of this, right? The second issue is security, as in, okay, what if this gets hacked? Or what if the people that are running the show all of a sudden die or go missing and now no one can access this? So how they're trying to solve this is they actually partnered with a DAO, I believe, a DAO, and they're going to try to make this whole thing multiple signature transactions, which is really cool. So for example, if they want to sell one dead pixel or if they want to spend 10,000 ADA, they are going to need multiple people to confirm that transaction for it to go through. So that's really going to help with security and that's going to help overall. And I like how they're doing that because they can give different members that are trusted in the community this ability. And it's going to be cool because they might need 10 people to sign off on something. Now, if they're trying to buy stuff quick, I could see how this would get in the way, but I prioritize security over everything. So I like how they're doing that. They're also trying to take these NFTs and fractionalize them. So instead of it just being one NFT, maybe it gets split into 10,000 parts or whatever the case is, so everyone can actually own their part. I am not a developer. I do not know how to code all this stuff, but that seems very, very difficult to do. And in the interview, they actually talked about how that was probably years away. So I could see them, potentially doing this in the future, but that is one complicated sounding thing. And I don't know how practical it really is, or if any major project has been doing that or has done that on the Cardano ecosystem. Now, one more thing I wanted to bring up with this whole treasury is its influence. Now, I think this is actually going to be the craziest thing with the DAO as far as its value goes. Their influence is ridiculous. Like, for example, They bought dead pixels, and I'm going to make a video on dead pixels. They bought like 28 of them, and then all of a sudden, people knew that this DAO bought dead pixels, and you know what people did is they bought a ton. And I know they released their roadmap and a bunch of other stuff like that, but dead pixels literally went from 700 to 800 ADA all the way to 2,500 ADA within like a week or 2 weeks, right? So it's really interesting that I'm seeing with this DAO, and why I said, is this DAO the next Cathie Wood of CNFTs? It's because I really believe there are going to be people that just mirror copy what this DAO is doing. I mean, think about it. You had thousands of people vote to buy something, and now all of a sudden you have hundreds of thousands or millions of ADA going into these different projects. When they buy 28 dead pixels, obviously that's going to increase the price of dead pixels. And you know what's crazy is they can't buy them all at one time because Cardano is so congested, right? So I think the craziest thing with this project is the fact that there are people going to be mirroring their trades, not only that are in their Discord, but that are watching their wallet. Like, for example, they just bought some Pavia and Yumi Universe recently, and that created a lot of buzz. So now all of a sudden, everyone's trying to follow their trade, similar to Cathie Wood when she was recommending T-Doc and Tilray and all of this crap, right? Like, everyone just followed and mirrored her play. So I think like the craziest value that isn't really talked about with this DAO is just their ability to increase the price of an asset. If all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're buying 28 dead pixels are going to go up. Hey, if we're going to buy 9 pieces of Pavia is going to go up. Not only do you have them buying a bunch, but then you have everyone in their Discord that has one of their rats buying a bunch, and then you have everyone that's watching this buying a bunch, and then you have everyone that's just watching volume and seeing it go up like crazy and not knowing why. Now you have them buying it and chasing it. So it's kind of interesting where like they are kind of in a situation creating a pump group, where now all of a sudden, if they want to pump something up, they can, because they are starting to have that level of influence, not only with social media and their project, but also with their finances. With all that being said, guys, and going into RatsDAO and just DAOs in general, right? What is my personal opinion on DAOs? Because this is a super polarizing topic, and people either love them or hate them. I think DAOs are really cool, and I think that they're enabling people to take part of the growth of these blue chip NFTs that they can't afford themselves. And I think the community aspect of a DAO is super awesome in the sense that like you have a community of people that are all working together and strategizing to try to figure out the best way to budget the money. That is something super cool to me. Like, I've always been into that sort of thing. I've always been into investing since I was like 11 years old. I've been interested in investing. So it's super cool to have a community make these different decisions. Now, there's a couple worries I have though. It's like, one, you're trusting in this circumstance, one team or one individual that has full control of this wallet. You're trusting that they're not just going to run off with the money, right? That's number one. Two, there's this whole entire security risk of this randomly going missing or someone getting hurt or different things like that. Now, you can structure things and do multiple signatures and have multiple people have access to the seed phrase, all that stuff. But it does worry me to have an organization that has so much money for that to be in control of a few people. Because let's be honest, guys, someone can change their name, get plastic surgery, and run off with over 1 million ADA right now, right? So there's a lot of trust that goes into this. The other thing that I think about when it comes to this is like taking profits. Right now, there's a lot of buying, and there's a lot, hey, we're going to hold this for a while. But let's say in a year, like, when do we take profits? Like, when do we sell this stuff? Am I going to have to own this CNFT for the rest of my life? Like, what if I own this rat for a whole year and not once do they take profit? I would have been much better off investing in a non-DAO that had other utility or other things they were doing that were going to make me money, either a game or some metaverse or multiple seasons or something like that, right? So you're kind of holding off, like you're kind of not really realizing any of these gains until the DAO realizes these gains. But when is the DAO going to realize these gains? And when they do realize these gains, Is that not going to really hurt the market? And then let's say they do make all this profit. Now all of a sudden they have to split that profit between all of these people. So they have to sell a lot of stuff for it to even make sense. And maybe there's going to be some sort of smart contract code to do this that I don't know of as a non-developer. But think about this. Let's say we bought a Clay Nation for 2,000 ADA and then we sold it for 10,000 ADA. Well, that's 8,000 ADA profit. Let's say the DAO decides we want to split that between all the holders. Well, with what they're saying now with the RAT token is that the money is going to be divided by the people holding the RAT tokens. Well, there's 100 million RAT tokens, right? So let's just say we had 20, 30, 40,000 holders of this token. Well, you can't split 8,000 ADA between 30, 40,000 people, 30, 40,000 wallets. It doesn't make sense because not only now are they barely getting any money, they're getting no money. They're not even getting a full ADA. And the problem is unless there's a way around it, you have to pay that transaction fee to send that amount of money to every single person. So if you have to send ADA to 20,000 different wallets, now all of a sudden you're getting one ADA transaction fee for all those wallets. You're losing 20,000 ADA just trying to distribute this. Now there might be a workaway around this and you might be able to avoid that transaction, but you got to see, guys, it's really interesting how this works. The process of taking profits and actually getting money as a holder of this is very complicated, and there's a lot of gray area, and I don't know how they're necessarily going to do this in a practical and logical sense. Now, where do I see RatsDAO going, and what do I think is a good purchase price for this? Well, if you look here, guys, they were pretty much bottom at 150 ADA for a while. This is when on February 2nd, they had released 6,000 more rats for 150 ADA each. So it took a little bit to sell out. But now in the past week, since the 10th, we went from about 150 ADA floor to a 300 ADA floor, which is absolutely insane. This is a very common situation of hype and FOMO. I made a whole video about hype and FOMO. And in my opinion, if you own these RatsDAO when they were 150 ADA, you should have, in my opinion, and hate me if you want for being honest, I believe you should have sold that before this airdrop snapshot today. I believe you should have sold it for 290, 300 ADA and get that double up. Because I think what's going to happen is as soon as people get airdropped those tokens, I think there's going to be a decent pullback on these rats. And I think that anyone that was taking the time to really realize that these tokens are way more important than the CNFTs, I think that token is going to do well. But I think that these CNFTs are actually going to be devalued, and I think they're going to go down. I could see this going from, the 290, 300 ADA they're at. I could see this within the next week going back down to 200 ADA, potentially 180 ADA range. Now, at that point, you can either buy it as a long-term investment and just realize that this is the largest DAO on Cardano and that there's probably going to be more people that get into it in the future. Or you could, now at that point, you can either buy it as a long-term investment because they are the largest DAO, and I'm sure that they're going to get a lot more volume in the future just for being the largest DAO and for all the hype they have, right? Or what you could do is you could load up on a bunch of their tokens and realize that you don't even necessarily need to own one of their CNFTs, even though you can get that staking reward with the tokens, but you could literally just own their tokens and get a larger percentage of profit taking when they do that. But once again, guys, when are they actually going to take that profit? For me, I might buy one, I might not. I actually think the coolest part about being a part of the DAO is getting that information. Overall though, guys, I think that this DAO is pretty cool. I think their team is doing a good job. I liked Diego. They do a lot of stuff on Twitter and marketing. I didn't go into it too much in this video because there's more important stuff, but their website could definitely be beefed up, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this multiple signature transaction, because that's obviously going to help with the security, and it's also going to be interesting to see how exactly they're going to divvy up these profits in the future. If you are going to invest in this for a long-term investment, I would highly recommend waiting at least a week. I'm expecting the hype and FOMO to die down a lot after this RAT token airdrop, and you might be able to get in at a good position or a good price for the future. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something today, guys, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and follow my Twitter in the description. But with all that being said, I hope you guys have an awesome day.